I stood by the door as the sisters cleaned up the hideout, their hymns drowning out the shrieks of the dying. The cultists burned, but not swiftly, as offerings to the fires of their faith. I watched one get dragged from a pyre still alive, only to be cast on another, and another, until the air was thick with the scent of charred flesh and the screams of their voices. I will confess that in that moment, I felt the cold hand of dread. For their mercy, against them, I give thanks to the Emperor that my place was behind their guns, and not before them.
Yeah, you guys need some fucking help. Adeptus Sororitas, or the Sisters of Battle, which is usually what I call them. I remember when I got into this hobby, there was a saying that all Space Marines get the attention, the Imperium are the middle child, Chaos get abused, and Xenos are forgotten. Well, mostly the Eldar, but fuck the Eldar. But the more I play 40k, it really feels like that just isn't the case. It's an edition by edition basis for who gets their time in the sun, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Hello, I am Diodium, the man of the broken tower, here to talk about our fetish of women in power armor, because, like, come on. I'm in the firm belief that no one doesn't want strong female characters. We just want them to be badass while being strong. And there's nothing more hot and badass than a woman who will just fucking kill me. Gonna tone down the thirst for this one, at least a little bit. Because as much as I like to joke around, I do think that female characters in this setting are badass. I don't find anyone that I actually dislike. Even Gilliman's mom was kind of sick. St. Dominica, I love you. Is that heretical? I play fucking Iron Warriors, never mind. I don't care about being heretical. So who are the Sisters of Battle? Where did they come from? And why are they just peak fiction? More on that after this message. We hit 2K, and possibly 3K by the time this video comes out. So, thank you. Also, this channel got partnered, and you probably saw this if you watch with ads, but this channel actually has ads now. None of this would have been possible without any of you. Genuinely, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can make garbage or masterpieces, but it doesn't matter if nobody watches it. Your guys' viewership matters more, and that's why this time around I actually put out a poll on who the next faction was going to be, and yeah, you guys really like Sisters, huh? I can't blame you. They're cool from a lot of different aesthetics. They scream almost 80s to 90s villainous. I mean, look at them. They're objectively evil. They believe anybody who doesn't uphold their religion is a heretic to be burned at the stake. They are fanatics. There is rarely a sister in 40k who isn't blindly devoted to their faith and being a zealot about it. I don't talk about Rogue Trader in the AdMech video, much to the annoyance of some people who actually beat the game, and I can say, yeah, Argenta is definitely a zealot, and she's definitely a character. Before we get to that, how the hell did this all start? Well, it started with this fugly piece of shit named Goj Van Dyer during the Age of Apostasy, probably the most degrading and detrimental period in the Imperium's timeline. Around, and if I get this wrong, tell me, I think around M36, so like millennia 36,000, whatever you want to call it. So it was a bit after the Horus Heresy, about 5,000 years later. Big E has been sitting on the throne for some time, and the Imperium has obviously not been having a good time. From the Heresy to the Primarchs disappearing to the War of the Beast. Yeah, we're not going to be talking about the War of the Beast, probably ever. The Ecclesiarchy is at an insane level of power at this point. There are some minor civil wars. The Ecclesiarchy removing people from power for coughing a bit too loudly via the Assassinorum, and Goj shows up. Goj's rise to power mirrors a lot of the petty squabbles that happen between the popes, and I'm sure that's kind of the point. When a lot of people say 40k is satire and even GW sometimes, I think they fail to realize what this means is poking fun at things that have happened. Sure, there's some commentary here and there, but I'm not about to take political advice from guys who made this in the 80s. That's just me. Also, they're British, so, you know, as an American, I have to hate them. Goj got made a High Lord of the Administratum, and after all the civil wars, the Ecclesiarchy was pretty weak, and Goj's rise to power was more of a hostile takeover. While forcing the Cardinals, who I'm pretty sure elect the next High Lord of the Ecclesiarchy, they ended up getting their ship swallowed up by a warp storm. Goj uses to explain that it was the Emperor's divine will to see him put into power. He did this a lot. The problem is that it worked for a long while. He eventually runs into the Daughters of the Emperor, a religious group that adhere to the Imperial cult. He tried to recruit them into his private army, and to prove that he was worth their time, he he was going to prove that he was blessed by the Emperor, and asked one of them to shoot him. Unbeknownst to these girls, on their backwater world, Goj had Rosarius, a small device that projects a force field that saved him from harm. And so it tricked the daughters of the Emperor into believing he was indeed blessed. There's actually an interaction where Goj is talking to one of his servants, saying that he was kind of wiping sweat off of his brow, saying, "Holy shit, I can't believe that worked." And they join him, and he rebrands them into the brides of the Emperor. Goj then claimed he received visions and the words of the Emperor while going insane and revealing himself to be a sadistic bastard who enjoyed torturing people, charging the innocent as guilty, and so forth. I'm not talking about Sebastian Thor. Sorry, this is a Sisters video, not an Age of Apostasy video. Just know that his head is preserved by Tracing the Infinite, because of course it is. We fast forward a bit more, and Goj is getting to the point where his power is almost uncontested. Space Marines and Mars don't listen to him, neither do the Custodes, but they're trying to avoid plunging the entirety of the Imperium into civil war again. So things started to get plunged into civil war again. Goj dissolved the High Lords, Mars transported 4 whole Space Marine chapters to fight Goj's forces, and the Custodes were starting to realize that shit was getting bad and it needed to end. Sure, there's 10,000 of them, but the Custodes couldn't even stop the Horus Heresy on their own. What are they going to do if we go into civil war again without Primarchs? The problem is that they can't get the brides of the Emperor to believe Goj is the enemy of the Imperium. After all, he performed miracles and was favored by the Emperor himself. So it got to the point where the Custodians brought their leader, Alicia Dominica, to the Emperor's chamber itself. Regardless of how fortified the palace was, the Custodians knew exactly how to reach the throne room through secret tunnels. It was never stated what happened in that room, but what is known is that Alicia was fucking furious. Her hair was chalk white, and whatever she saw or heard sent her into a fiery rage, and she hunted down Goj like a dog. To quote, "You have committed the ultimate heresy. Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you have profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he has striven to build. You have perverted and twisted the path that he laid for mankind to tread. As your own decrees have stated, there can be no mercy for such a criminal. I renounce your lordship. You walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and now it is time for you to die." Which Goj's last ever words were, "I do not have time to die. I am too busy." She then stabbed him. Probably a lot. Yeah, Goj hit the paranoid and having Alzheimer's arc where that every dictator hits at some point in their life. Goj is killed horribly, and the Reign of Blood ends, and a few things are done. Firstly, the Ecclesiarchy, or the Adeptus Ministorum, I forget which one, or if they're the same at this point, were banned from having men serve in their ranks in a militant role. Men, not women. Yeah, after everything, the Adeptus Sororitas exists solely because of a fucking local ordnance level loophole. One of the most peak factions to exist in 40k exists solely because of an HOA level of malicious compliance. The setting is so fucking stupid, I love it so much. We fast forward, and Saint Dominica and her cohort, Catherine, Silvana, Lucia, and Arabella, all go on to make their respective orders. In order, the Ebon Chalice, the Fiery Heart, which is now known as Our Martyred Lady, the Argent Shroud, the Valor's Heart, and the Bloody Rose, and the Sacred Rose. Did I count too many sisters? I feel like I'm missing a sister. Someone will tell me in the comments. They all eventually die within the same millennia because, yeah, humans don't live that long, but they're all regarded as saints within the Sororitas. If we're talking about who my favorite saint is, it's definitely Dominica because her speech was badass, but if we're talking about who my favorite order is, it's the Argent Shroud, and it's because of this lady. Fun fact, sisters absolutely hate Space Marines. The reason for this being is that the Marines have proven themselves to be corruptible, and easily so. The only Marine chapter they have an inkling of respect for are the Black Templars because, like the sisters, they strictly follow the Imperial cult. They're still Asaris, but if you had to choose one chapter to be incorruptible, it's probably them. Another fun fact, no sister has ever fallen to chaos. Technically, it's not known if Mariel Sabathiel, I think that's how you say her name, is canon anymore, and she hasn't been mentioned since like the early 2000s, I think. Let's be real, she's the author's barely disguised fetish. She's a power armor super Catholic bad bitch who fell to the god of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Okay, Games Workshop. There was also the murder curse thing from Arcs of Omen, but I don't know what that really was. And I don't remember Arcs of Omen being particularly good. Regardless, how did the sisters perform? With faith. And a whole lot of war crimes. If it wasn't obvious, the sisters are very much based on Catholicism. If someone has a bitch fit in the comments about that, I'm going to consider myself happy, because apparently talking about real life things is political now. I mean, look at them. Stained glass, hardcore religion, they have saints. Celestine is almost a literal Christ-like figure, and she's based off Joan of Arc. Joan d'Arc. I'm going to try to remember that. Oh, so is the Lady Rapunzel. I see you, GW. Anyways, this is to say that the sisters also believe in the Holy Trinity. No, not the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. This Trinity brings you closer to the Holy Ghost. Their Trinity is the Bolter, the Melta, and the Flamer. They use these weapons because they are purifying, in a sense. A Bolter turns somebody into jelly, a Melta reduces somebody to ash, and a Flamer also reduces somebody to ash over a slow, agonizing course of time. And they love upholding the Imperial cult. Burn the heretic, kill the mutant, purge the unclean. And oh boy, do they do all three of these and then some. They're also like humanitarians. Well, Hospitallers are. They provide food, shelter, medical aid, and they're some of the nicest people in the orders. They also like children, and I don't mean that in a Minecraft YouTuber way, I mean like they enjoy protecting children. It makes sense when you realize that most Sisters of Battle are recruited from the Schola Progenium, where most orphan children in the Imperium are sent there assuming they didn't already die on their own random world. The Schola is not a kind place, and it's probably why the Sisters are nicer towards children, because if anybody knows how bad the Schola is, it's them. Also, for those who didn't know, sisters can have children. They're not celibate. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it for more than 2 seconds. Procreating and keeping humanity's numbers up during 40k is incredibly important. So some of those sororitas have most likely became mothers at one point in their lives, but due to the nature of their work, their children get left behind, and when they die, their children go on to the Schola, assuming there's no one else to take care of them. It's one of the nicer aspects of the sisters, and now we have to talk about how batshit insane they are, because who doesn't like a little bit of crazy? The sisters are, they're insane. Do you know what a repentia is? Aside from, once again, being someone's fetish and Bricky hating how they looked, repentia are, they're not well loved. A repentia is a sister of battle who retreated. That's not fucking allowed. So, Christ, I feel stupid saying this. This is like Stephen King fucking levels of novel fetish. They're stripped of all their armor, given raggedy clothes, sometimes just scripture to wear, and are handed an eviscerator, a two-handed chainsword, and are told to charge into the enemy and die. And holy shit, these psychos hurt. But it gets worse. Sometimes a repentia is genuinely cowardly and they retreat. Again, do you guys know what a mortifier is? It's a variant of a penitent engine. Usually these things are holding penitents, people paying for their sins, relatively unarmored, easy for the enemy to kill the pilot. And the mortifier is the worst version, where they are strapped to the machine, wires are jammed into their brain to increase a deep sense of shame and self-loathing, bolts are drilled into their bones so they cannot writhe or even open their mouths to scream. And then there's the anchorite, which is for the worst offenders. It's for sisters who have betrayed their order. Shoved into a techno-Iron Maiden, it protects their body from a quick and certain death, so they cannot be martyred, which is a big thing for the sisters because they really love martyrdom and self-sacrifice, as well as the anchorite is a sensory deprivation chamber. If I remember correctly, it drowns out sound, and it's doing some psycho-indoctrination bullshit so that way those who are entombed cannot listen to the glorious hymns and voices of their once fellow sisters as they are forced to be alone in agony and die slowly, denying them purpose, salvation, and everything above. I love penitent engines. I'm not going to be talking about the war gear for the sisters because it's basic Imperium stuff. A bolter is an RPG machine gun, a melta is a... No one can actually agree on what a melta is, actually. And a flamer is the Vietnam Special. Napalm sticks to kids. I want to talk more about the sisters units because they're just cool. My favorite one of all time being the Imagifier, and it's not because they're particularly interesting. They're basically a banner bearer, which in old-time warfare is the most important role for morale. But I also love the Imagifier because of this art piece. It's really giving me like Iwo Jima vibes in a way. In a world where you have weapons that can deconstruct you atom by atom, or hordes of xenomorphs numbering in the millions, you choose to be the one swinging the banner around? Fuck yeah. I also use this kit for my Admech models. Quick homebrew lore aside, she was a sister hospitaller who was captured by the Chaos Space Marines. Thankfully, the local Forge World found her before anything worse could have happened to her. That being said, they already ripped her apart. My Forge World believes in second chances heavily. That's why they rely on Skitarii a lot, because Skitarii are guardsmen or other Imperial citizens who are given a second chance at life to serve the machine god. So they took her in their ranks, and she now serves as a sub-domina for my Skitarii. Think Kefra from Mechanicus, just a little more somber. I fucking love Seraphim. First off, you're hitting Zone Raider aesthetics of power armor women with jetpacks, so you're already making me happy. And you're making women of Catholic imagery look like literal angels. But you also have this woman dual-wielding melta-pistols, because why the fuck not? Even their rhinos look cool. Look at all those special little details that get put on them. It's like having an unmarked van show up, but the Pope just had to splash out on them, so he lets everybody know that the faithful are rolling up and they mean business. I miss Crusaders. They were never really serving any role, and it's called the Sisters of Battle, not the Misters of Battle. Granted, they still have a minister and priest, and I know they're on the law of no men under arms, but that guy clearly has a power weapon and a gun servo skull, so like, what the fuck is going on? The majority of sister units boil down to squad with certain weapon or gear. You can say that about a lot of 40k units, especially Space Marines, but they actually do feel very female Space Marine in this way. No, I'm not going to get into the whole female Space Marine discussion because I think the sisters are cooler anyways. I mean this in the sense of the individual is adaptable and able to swap out their gear for whatever role is needed, like how you do it in Space Marine 2, where Titus is going around using jetpacks, thunderhammers, plasma guns, bolters, flamethrowers, melta guns, so on and so forth. A Space Marine, just like a sister, should be able to adapt to whatever role is needed. And Retributors are some bad ladies, and some of my favorites. You honestly just give me anyone with like a big gun and I'm happy. Alright, it's time to talk about the Nundums. Around 8th or 9th edition, I don't remember when, the sisters got mech suits. They are highly elite units that can rival dreadnoughts and are so revered that only the purest of sisters are allowed to pilot them, as the machine spirit is difficult to tame if you are not pure of mind, body, and soul. And I don't like them. We're hitting Nemesis Dread Knight levels of problematic, but they're not as bad as the baby carrier. It just doesn't look that much better. Even proxies I've seen leave something to be desired, and I honestly think it's the sword, or just really how they hold their weapons. It makes the silhouette look odd, like weird old Space Marine not monopose, but like the heavy quotations, multi-pose models. You don't know what I'm talking about, like 7th or 6th edition type stuff. I feel like they were made to be two-handing great weapons, like a great sword or a giant spear, which is why I like Morvenn Vahl, because while she isn't two-handing anything, she does have a massive ass spear that complements her entire form. And she's also probably one of my favorite characters. I have to talk about the tanks before we move on. The Castigator is a standard-looking battle tank, and it reminds me more of the Predator Annihilator than the Leman Russ, but I also think it's because it's using the Rhino chassis. But the Exorcist is pure aura farming. It is an artillery tank featuring a pipe organ that fires fucking missiles out of it, which is batshit insane. This woman is hitting notes on Noosphere like she's playing Osu, and she's hitting kill streaks you could only dream of. But my favorite tank of all time is probably the Immolator. A double flamethrower tank with stained glass bulletproof windows. As a Catholic, this tickles my religious side, but the only thing that this is missing, I think, is like a fresco painting on the side. Holy shit, I just figured out my sister's color scheme. No one can take that, that's fine, fuck you. But seriously, you can imagine like a painting like Adam and God, but it's the Emperor and Sanguinius, and it's painted on the side of a tank with like marble housing. I already saw someone put female Fulgrim on one, but yeah, I can't show it for obvious reasons. It's not PG safe. It's on the Primarch GF subreddit if you really care. Oh, they also have a drop churches, not drop pod churches, the entire church. They drop them from orbit because sisters believe in the American logistics plan where we could get a Burger King set up anywhere in the world within 24 hours. They drop Sunday school on Monday because they're just like that. The script is starting to get long and I haven't even talked about the relics. Fuck man, I'm already behind and I need to edit this. There's only 2 characters I find really interesting in the sisters, and that's Celestine and Morvenn Vahl. I don't know anything about Judith Thurita, and I really don't care. I like Celestine because she's very much Joan of Arc. Originally, she was a Repentia, and she was believed to have died before resurrecting a few days later as a living saint of the Imperium. She cannot die so long as there is faith in the Imperium, and another thing, and it's why I love her so much. Every time she dies, she wakes up in a weird dream or realm. I'm pretty sure she's in the warp when this happens. She has to endure several trials, and she resurrects because she's basically the Imperial Demon. Over the course of these trials, she regains her memory, her armor, her weapon, and even 3 shards of her, the shards being faith, duty, and hope. Please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, because this is the part of her journey I love so much. The trial always ends with her trying to reach hope. Faith and duty are visualized as women, while hope is a young girl. She has to reach climbing up a mountain of corpses, and if I remember correctly, they're her corpses. And each time she tries to climb, it gets harder and harder. And there may be a day where she can't climb the mountain anymore. Her final trial is to reach hope and comfort her. Hope is a shard of Celestine, and she is a part of her. Celestine is trying to give herself a reason to keep fighting and keep dying. One day, it might not be enough. I love her a lot more after learning about that piece of lore. I like Morvenn Vahl for opposite reasons. She's funny to me. She's from the Argent Shroud, who are more about deeds and not words, and she got elected to be High Abbess, I think. I think that's the role. She's basically the High Lord for the Sisters of Battle. The original person holding that position, I think, died or it was vacant for a super long time. I can't remember which. So the High Lords were looking for a replacement that they could manipulate. Real Gouge Van Dyer type plays. And they eventually found Morvenn Vahl, a very quiet woman, and she actually denied the promotion at first. After thinking about it for a few days, she ended up taking the job. And before the High Lords could do anything about her, she immediately went on a crusade, like just left. The High Lords cannot control her. They bother her at every turn they can, trying to get her attention and trying to direct her and the sisters as they see fit, and the fucking woman would rather be fighting heretics than discussing politics. So the High Abbess position is basically still empty, albeit she still fills it, so nobody can actually replace her like the High Lords wanted to. She's literally the I would rather be fishing meme. Her power spear, the Lance of Illumination, was actually a gift from the Custodians. It's Custodians' war gear. Custodians never share their fucking war gear. I guess it's a nod to how the Custodians respect the sisters because of Dominica, and because she's a High Lord, now they have even more respect for her. So yeah, badass lady wielding a spear that's worth more than the GDP of my entire country, and she avoids doing her on-paper job in favor of working in the field. She also has a split-colored hair, and that appeals to me. I'm not going to elaborate any further, just here's some art. God, there is so much I want to say about the sisters, and I honestly don't know if I can formulate my thoughts any more than I did. They have so many crazy relics and units. The Grail of Ages drove the enemy insane with holy power. The Quicksilver Veil is basically the Harry Potter Cloak of Invisibility, and they also just carry out the body of Saint Catherine through battle. It's literally the coffin dance meme, and it's so fucking cool because it's basically every sister at the procession is carrying a different relic. It's so much fun and it did so much bullshit, and I tried desperately to try and make an admech version of this for my call proxy before I just settled on using a 30k abeyance. I don't even know what else to say about the sisters, honestly, at this point. They're just so much fun. They're an armed force of all women, strong enough to rival Space Marines and faithful enough to overshadow the Grey Knights. And they're so beloved, they got an entire refresh that has done nothing but the best for this entire faction. They used to look so awful, and they're one of the most beautifully sculptured miniatures in the entire range. Sure, they're just Omega Catholics, but every faction in 40k is a reference to something. Honestly, I love how they look, and I know a lot of my friends love how they look. They can be your best ally and your worst enemy, depending on how you align yourself with the Imperial faith. They are simultaneously the most fun and the most overlooked faction in the Imperium. We all know who they are, we know what they're about, but they're so rare. Someone in my AdMech video in the comments said that the AdMech are the Xenos of the Imperium, and I agree with that in some way. And I want to take it a step further. To me, the sisters are the Gene Stealer cults of the Imperium. Rarely anyone plays them because they're so hard to make work. You need to have a massive brain to make ordinary mortal women fight as hard as Space Marines. That being said, they are just peak aesthetic of 40k. I've already showed you some of the units, I've shown you some of the art. If you don't get jazzed up by this, I literally don't know what to tell you. You're just dead inside. They're such a beautifully designed faction with amazing, I don't want to necessarily say lore because it feels like I'm just like overshadowing the stories that they have. Celestine is a cool character as much as she can be a little bit, I don't know how to explain it, but like preachy. But that's the point of the sisters. They're super Catholics. They're supposed to be preachy. They literally march in processions in the middle of war and sing battle hymns with each other. I'm pretty sure they were doing this during the fall of Cadia, just like singing, I don't know, the Hallelujah or Kumbaya together. Oh my god. They're just so goofy, but in a good way. In a way that just makes them appealing. And also, you know, for 90% of guys who are into 40k, we also like sisters because they're pretty. And it's kind of crazy when you think about the fact that, like, if you're looking at a majority of like official Games Workshop art, yeah, the sisters don't look half bad. So not only are these women fighting as hard as Space Marines, not only are they overshadowing most of the Imperial cult in terms of their insane devout to their faith. They also just look good while doing it. They're literally just flexing on everybody, and at this point, they're just running laps around the entirety of the Imperium. And you know what? They fucking earned it. I think they deserve that win. To end this video off, a quote from Celestine. Despair, and you give yourself to the shadows. Believe, truly believe in the Emperor of mankind, and you shall walk in his light, no matter how dark the path you tread. Thanks for listening.